Another day, another Mets win. That's 7 straight wins for the New York Mets. 12-1 at Citi Field this season. A great start at home. They sweep the Cardinals, they sweep the Phillies, and they sweep the homestand. Starlin Marte, a clutch walk-off bloop single. Pete Alonso does it again. Francisco Lindor, 14 for 30 across this homestand, putting up video game numbers. And of course, we're going to be talking the Yankees after we talk some Mets to start the pod, the New York Double Play podcast, hosted by me, James Nolan. If you want to check out more of my stuff outside of this podcast, you can head over to fansided.com/author/jnolan, where I'm currently covering the Mets and the Yanks. But yeah, let's get right into it because there's a lot to talk about today. There's a lot to like today in New York baseball. I mean, Aaron Judge continues to just look like literally a road to the show player playing on beginner. That's how good he's playing. Francisco Lindor during the Mets homestand, their 7-game sweep of a homestand, he looked like a road to the show player playing on beginner, going 14 for 30. He reached base more than 3 times in 3 consecutive games. The first player in MLB to do that this season. He did it last year, and he was one of a dozen players last year to do that feat. So this Mets team is clicking on all cylinders. The only guy who's not really clicking is Juan Soto, but Juan Soto still helped the Mets win the final game of the series to sweep the Philadelphia Phillies. The team that has won the NL East in the past, now the past 2 seasons, the Philadelphia Phillies. It was a statement series. It was a commanding, dominant series by the Mets. The Phillies didn't look like they had any chance. Really, it didn't look like they had any chance. Even in game 3, the Mets, they got to Zach Wheeler. They got his pitch count up. They avoided Zach Wheeler, like a dominant Zach Wheeler start. Like Brett Beatty going yard against Zach Wheeler when he threw him that cutter. That cutter against the left-hander, Zach Wheeler has a very good cut fastball, especially against lefties. And for Brett Beatty to take that one, the bomb that he hit into the second deck, that was very nice to see. It was very nice to see. And we get Jeff McNeil and Francisco Alvarez back this Friday against the Washington Nationals when we head over there for a 4-game set. And now the Mets are going to have to make some roster decisions. And to me, it's clear as day. There's no other option than to keep Brett Beatty and Acuna on this roster once those 2 guys return. Azokar has to go down. Hayden Senger will go down. But in terms of Beatty and Acuna, I think both of them need to stay. I'll explain that later. But let's talk about this series. So the Mets, they start off with a 5-4 win on Monday night. Francisco Lindor hit 2 home runs. Jesse Winker performed very well. He had a nice home run in the second inning, joining Francisco Lindor with the second inning home runs. A little bit of scare, like a big scare actually, in that 9th inning when the Phillies did put up 4 runs. But ultimately, Edwin Diaz still got the job done. He bended. He didn't break. And that's really been the MO of Edwin Diaz this year. He has yet to really actually, I think he does have 1 blown save this year, but outside of that, we did win that game too. So it wasn't even, I don't think it's necessarily counted as a blown save. But Edwin Diaz, he pitched well. He pitched well today. He did get hurt today. It came out after the game that one of his legs was bigger than his other leg, and that was fixed. But that's due to a back, I think some with his back or his hip. That's why it looked like that. So Diaz has definitely been pitching not great. And it probably did have to do with that hip or the back, whichever one it really was, over the past few weeks. But I mean, Diaz has been getting the job done for us, and that's really all you can ask for. The bullpen has been phenomenal. The bullpen today only didn't allow an earned run. They allowed that 1 run with the California rule, that runner on second base in the 10th inning. But outside of that, the bullpen did not allow a single earned run tonight, or today, I should say, because it was a 1:00 game. And then David Peterson. I mean, David Peterson, he really hasn't had his best stuff to start this year. Like, that's one thing I can say confidently about David Peterson is he has not had his best stuff today. He didn't get lit up by the Philadelphia Phillies today. He only gave up 2 earned runs across 5.1 innings of work, but he did allow 8 hits. He did only walk one guy. He did only walk one guy, which is a plus, and he only struck out 2 guys. So he wasn't the David Peterson that we want to really get behind on and say this guy can be a top-end starter for the Mets this year. But I think that's also the best part about David Peterson to start the year. He does have a 3.29 ERA now through his first 5 starts, and we really haven't seen him locked in since his first start of the year against Miami, where he went 6 innings, struck out 9. Like, that's really the only time we really saw a locked-in David Peterson. Outside of that, he really hasn't had his best stuff, and he's still managing to keep the Mets in a position to win the ball game. He's got a 1-1 record still because he did get the no decision today, but he really did a great job against a very dominant Philadelphia Phillies lineup with Trey Turner, Bryce Harper, Kyle Schwarber, Nick Castellanos, JT Realmuto, Alec Baum, even Bryson Stott. He's a good hitter this year too. He's hitting 298 with a 440 slug and a 362 on base percentage. Top to bottom, this Phillies lineup is elite. And the Mets pitching staff, the starters specifically, did a fantastic job this series. In game 1 on Monday, we got to see Tylor Megill look like an April Tylor Megill. Even better, in my opinion. He lowered his ERA on Monday to a 1.09 ERA. He's now 3-2 on the year. He went 5.1 innings. He did walk 4 guys, which is the reason his pitch count was so high, and he had to come out in the 6th inning. Meanwhile, he only allowed 1 hit. He only allowed 1 hit and struck out 10 batters. And to stick with Megill for a second, I think this is going to be a good year for Tylor Megill. I don't think he is going to be a guy with a 1.09 ERA all year or a sub-2 ERA all year, but Tylor Megill has looked the best he's ever looked. We've seen him have great Aprils multiple years now. Since 2021, Tylor Megill has gotten off to great starts, very fast starts. And then after April, he kind of breaks. But this is the best Tylor Megill has ever looked. This is the best the Mets pitching in general, in my opinion, since I've been watching this team, which has been really since 2006. I was born in 2000. So 06 was really my first year where I remember the Mets. This is the best the pitching has looked, in my opinion. And it's without a Jacob deGrom like we had in 2015, or a Noah Syndergaard, a Matt Harvey, a Steven Matz, a Bartolo Colon. It's with guys like Tylor Megill, Griffin Cannon, David Peterson, Clay Holmes, former back-end reliever turned starter, and Kodai Senga, who missed all of last year. So this is why I also think Tylor Megill is legit going to be a good, reliable starter for the Mets this season, is because we've seen a turnaround so far from Griffin Cannon. We saw the turnaround from David Peterson last year, from Sean Manaea last year, from Luis Severino last year. So I am very excited to see what Tylor Megill can do to build off a great start. He said it at the beginning of the year. He wants to stay in the rotation all year. He has a real chance to do that as long as he keeps the Mets in a position to win the game, as long as he does what he did Monday night every few starts. And just because, like I said, I don't expect him to let up 1 hit every single start and strike out 10 guys like he did on Monday night against the Phillies. But I do think he can be a reliable, good starter all year long. And that's the best part about this, is if Megill does do that, if Griffin Cannon continues to find success, and we'll talk about his outing in game 2, he did really well. When Sean Manaea comes back, he will get a rotation spot. But if Megill and Cannon are both pitching well by the time Frankie Montas comes back, that's going to be a very good problem to have. Because we all thought Brandon Sproat and Blake Tidwell would eventually join this rotation on top of Frankie Montas rejoining the rotation mid-year. But now with the way they're pitching, with the way these starters have been throwing the ball, where is a spot for Sproat, for Tidwell, for Frankie Montas in this rotation? Because when they do get Sean Manaea back, and hopefully nobody gets hurt, there probably will be some injuries. But even when they return from a set injury, wouldn't you want these guys, these 5 guys, Senga, Megill, Holmes, Peterson, and Cannon, wouldn't you want these 5 guys in the rotation all year if they continue to pitch like this? I would say yes. So it's going to be a great problem to have when Brandon Sproat and, Brandon Sproat, Blake Tidwell, when we want to call them up, it's going to be a good problem to have when Frankie Montas rejoins this rotation and we have these guys pitching so well. So I cannot wait to see how this Mets pitching staff continues to build, because even let's say they do fall off the earth, right? Let's say Griffin Cannon and Tyler McGill do start to break a little bit. Well, then you could have that Blake Tidwell, Brandon Sproat. You will have Sean Manaea be in the rotation by mid-June. Same thing with Frankie Montas. So they have a lot of depth. So far, I don't even think they need to really use that depth even when they're available. And it's because of how good like Tyler McGill has pitched. And I think this could be the year where McGill really puts it all together and becomes a good starter for the Mets. Now let's jump to game 2. We'll go pitcher by pitcher, and then we'll go, my favorite offensive players this series. And there's a lot to pick from. We scored 5 runs on Monday night, 5 runs just last night. And then today, facing Zach Wheeler, putting up 2 runs against Zach Wheeler thanks to Brett Beatty's home run. That was clutch. And then, I was kind of not expecting to lose, but I was kind of expecting to be okay with a loss just because of how good this Mets team has been playing recently. But they just show you. They get the big hit when it matters. And that's what they did tonight, or today, I should say, late in the game. But they did get the big hit when it mattered yesterday. But like I said, we're going to talk about the pitching first. Griffin Cannon went 5 innings, allowed 7 hits, only 1 earned run across those 5 innings, walked only 1 batter, and struck out 5. So Griffin Cannon doing against a dominant Phillies lineup, lowered his ERA to 3.12 on the year. And the best part about Cannon is now in his last 2 starts, he's faced real teams. His first outing against Houston, he's actually faced, I would say, 4 out of the 5 starts he's had. He's faced probably 4 playoff teams this year, because the Houston Astros, I think they're going to be a postseason team. In his first outing, he went 5.2 innings, only allowed 4 hits and 2 earned runs against Toronto, and I think they're going to be a wild card team in the AL. He went 4 innings, only allowed 4 hits for the 1 earned run. And the A's was really only the bad start he had this year. He went 5.1 innings, allowed 4 earned runs, and he actually pitched really well in his first 5 innings. It was the 6th inning. He really got blown up in that start, but he still limited the damage that start, and the Mets did get a 7-6 victory. So the Mets they've only lost 1 game he's pitched, and that was the 2-1 loss against Houston in his first outing. And then in St. Louis, in one of the best lineups going into that series, they were averaging over 5 runs a game. Their OPS, I think, was the number 1 in baseball headed into that start. And he struck out 8 batters across 6 innings, probably the best start of his year. 3 hits allowed and only 1 earned run allowed. And then the 8-2 strikeout to walk ratio that game, that was huge. And then facing another dominant lineup, the fourth, I would say, elite lineup he's faced this year. And he goes 5 innings, 7 hits, and 1 earned run allowed and struck out 5. Probably the best lineup he faced all year as well. So Cannon, I think he is going to be another reiteration of what this Mets pitching lab can be, what David Stearns has brought over to this organization, what Jeremy Hefner has been able to do with each pitcher, not just starter, with the bullpen guys as well. So relievers and starters have both been spot on this year. And Griffin Cannon, for a guy that led the American League last year in ERA, led the American League last year in earned runs allowed, for him to come out here to the New York Mets when every Met fan I know, because I was one of them, who was disappointed when we signed Griffin Cannon. But guess what? Now we all love that signing. We're sitting here today, 5 starts into Griffin Cannon's year, and we all love him. Every time he gets the ball now, we're confident. We're not confident as in he's going to go out there and give you 6, 7 dominant innings, but we're going to be confident when he gets the ball and he goes on that bump. We're going to be confident in saying, we can win this damn game. And that's something we didn't expect to say when we originally signed him. We were talking about him potentially not being in this rotation. And then the injuries happened, and now Griffin Cannon got his opportunity, and right now he's running with it. Right now he is running with it. We did touch on David Peterson, so if you want to listen to David Peterson on the replay, if you're just joining me, you can scroll back a little bit. David Peterson, like I said before, he doesn't really have his best stuff right now. He hasn't really had his best stuff all year, but he has kept the Mets in a position to win every single game this year. Going into today, He hasn't allowed more than 3 earned runs in a single start this year. And that stayed. Only 2 earned runs allowed today across 5.1 innings. And he has yet to allow more than 3 runs in a single start this year. So David Peterson, although his ERA right now stands at a 3.29, he has been probably the most consistent pitcher outside of Kodai Senga this year for the Mets. And you love that. You love that. He really hasn't had a bad start yet. He hasn't had a great start. Like I said, his first outing this year against Miami was, in my opinion, his only great start. But he has battled through it where he hasn't had his best stuff. Today he only walked 1 guy, so that's great. Against St. Louis the other day, he only walked 0 guys, and 0 guys against the Athletics, 5 walks against Toronto, 3 walks against Miami. So David Peterson is really just pounding the zone these past few starts. He's led in the defense, this defense that has been phenomenal as of late. Like Pete Alonso has been playing great first base, saved the Mets yesterday, making some outstanding defensive plays over there. Francisco Lindor, he has put those errors behind him. He's playing like a Gold Glove defender, especially in this series. Mark Vientos, he's been flashing his glove all over, making diving plays today. He was great out there. Juan Soto saving Jose Budo late in the game by throwing that runner out. Hayden Senger making a diving tag, to save that run and save a potential, blow up on X with, Juan Soto, bad throw led to a Phillies run that probably would have led to a Phillies victory. But this defense has been fantastic, and David Peterson has been letting the defense make plays for him. And that's kind of what you want out of these starters, especially like a guy like David Peterson, Griffin Cannon, Tyler McGill, even though McGill did strike out 10 guys the other night. But that's what you want out of these guys because they do have a good defense behind them. Brandon Nimmo has been playing the best left field I've ever seen him play. Like, this is the best defensive Brandon Nimmo I've ever seen. That's counted when he was, an above average defender in center field just a few years ago. Juan Soto has yet to make an error. And I was told that Juan Soto is terrible at defense. And he was, last year. He wasn't the best defender out there in right field. But so far, going into this year, he said he wanted to win a Gold Glove. And I'm not saying he's going to, but so far Soto has lived up to what he said. And he has taken a huge step forward defensively this year. And then the guys that we have in center field, like, even though Jose Siri's hurt, he was a great defender out there. Tyrone Taylor, a fantastic defender. Deacon out Kyle Schwarber just yesterday to throw him out at first and double him up there. That was huge. And then Jose Azocar, no complaints about him in center field as well. Up the middle, Lindor, obviously, probably I would say the best defender at shortstop in baseball. Definitely top 3. Second base, Acuna has been doing a fantastic job. Brett Beatty, he's put the errors behind him in that first week of the season. He's been playing great second base and third base. And then obviously the catching with Hayden Senger and Louis Torrens has been fantastic. So this defense as a whole, this starting rotation as a whole, you got to give a lot of credit to both of them, not just the pitching, but you also got to give the credit to the defense. And now let's talk about this offense, because this offense is finally starting to put runs on the board. We saw them score 5 runs on Monday. We saw them score 5 runs last night, 4 runs today, even though it took 10 innings. And they're starting to get the big hit when it matters. And Carlos Mendoza alluded to that in the beginning of the year when the pitching was really winning us a lot of games. The offense wasn't really clicking. We were getting a lot of runners on, but with runners in scoring position, we sucked. And to put it quite frank, we still suck right now with runners in scoring position. Lindor is basically on base in every single first inning, and it's been tough to drive him in. It has been. A lot of that has to do with the number 2 hitter, Juan Soto, not being Juan Soto, but at the same time, we all know Juan Soto is going to come around eventually. We all know Juan Soto is going to start to click, and that's the best part about sitting here today talking on this pod, and the Mets are 18-7 with a 5-game lead over the Philadelphia Phillies in the NL East. This is without Juan Soto being Juan Soto. And then, Pete Alonso and Francisco Lindor are red hot, so that has been really helpful. You need your guys to be the guys. You really do. And Francisco Lindor, like I said before to start the pod, 3 consecutive games where he gets on base more than 3 times. In this homestand, he went 14 for 30. 14 for 30. That is outright insane. Those are video game-like numbers. Pete Alonso putting up Aaron Judge numbers, not 2025 Aaron Judge numbers right now because he's hitting over 400, but he's putting up Aaron Judge numbers right now. Like Pete Alonso has been fantastic, and he drove a lone away slider that last year he would have struck out on. He drove it to the wall, drives in the tie and run, and we really needed him to come through there. And then he bust his ass from second base on a bloop single from Starlin Marte to score the game-winning run in the 10th inning. So Pete Alonso has been absolutely fantastic. He now has 26 RBIs in 25 games this year. 26 RBIs in 25 games this year. That is insane. He can definitely at least match, I would say, his career high in RBIs, which was 131 in 2022, where he led the league, led the NL, tied in the MLB with Aaron Judge for the lead in RBIs. But this year he's hitting 341 with a 681 slug percentage, a 440 on base percentage. Like Pete Alonso, his pitch selection has been much better this year. And that's what I talked about to even start the season. Like if we see Alonso just improve his pitch selection, he will be a vastly better hitter, because in 2022, what was so good about Pete Alonso? He wasn't chasing pitches out of the zone. He was still striking out, but he wasn't striking out as much as he did in 23 and 24. He struck out less than 140 times in 2022, struck out over 150 in 23 and over 170 in 24. And he has barely struck out this year. Like he didn't strike out at all today. Going into today, he's only struck out 15 times in 26 games. So that's now 109 plate appearances, and he's only struck out 15 times. So this is a different Pete Alonso. Can he sustain that 341 batting average that he has right now? I don't think so. But I think Pete Alonso, I think this might be the best year of his career, because he looks better than he ever has before. Better than he did in 2019. Better than he looked in 2022, because he's striking out a lot less. Like I said, only 15 strikeouts and 109 plate appearances. This is a Pete Alonso that we have never seen. This is the Pete Alonso that we thought after 2019 he could be up there with an Aaron Judge. I'm not saying he's going to be up there with Aaron Judge all year, but Pete Alonso looks like one of the best hitters in baseball. He is definitely one of the most dangerous hitters in baseball right now. Like I said, I don't think he's going to finish the year with a 341 batting average and a 440 on base percentage, but I think we can actually predict or say or expect now that Pete Alonso can put up a 275 plus, 280 plus batting average with, let's say, a 389 plus on base percentage. I will say 40 home runs. 40 home run Pete might be back. In 3 out of his 5 full seasons, he's hit over 40 home runs. He's driven in at least 115 RBIs in 3 out of those 5 years. 40 home run Pete Alonso, that's not a crazy take. So I think Pete Alonso can hit 40 home runs. RBI-wise, I think this guy can hit 140 plus RBIs. With the way he's off to, with the start he's off to right now, with the way, like he had 131 RBIs in 2022, and he didn't have Juan Soto. He didn't have Francisco Lindor, both guys who have been getting on base at a very high clip this year and who will continue to do that all year, hidden in front of him. So that's huge. It is huge that Pete Alonso is scorching hot right now. Eventually, these pitchers are going to stop pitching around Juan Soto if Pete Alonso continues to produce in that 3-hole for the Mets. Francisco Lindor, we can shut up about the slow starts now. We can shut up about those slow starts now, because it's April 24th, and he's hitting 309 with a 505 slug percentage. Like, that is insane. Like, your leadoff guy hitting or slugging 505, that's nice. Like, that's really nice. He holds an 869 OPS right now with that 309 batting average. He goes 2 for 4 today, gets on base 3 times. In game 2 of this series against Philly, we went 3 for 5. So we got on base another 3 times yesterday, and then went 2 for 3 in game 1 of this series. He got on base 3 times. He worked a walk. 3 for 5 against St. Louis in the final game of that series. In the third game against St. Louis, he went 0 for 4. He did go 0 for 4. A little silent game for Francisco Lindor there. But in game 2, he went 1 for 5, and in game 1, he went 3 for 4. So I would say the best player in each of these series has been Francisco Lindor. Like I said, during the 7-game homestand, he went 14 for 30. That is insane. Insane. 14 hits and 30 at-bats in a 7-game stretch. That's unfair. That's unfair to opposing pitchers. And he's been doing it while playing Gold Glove defense at short. So I think this is the best Lindor has ever looked as a Met. I think this is the best that Pete Alonso has ever looked like as a Met. And the best part is Juan Soto has yet to be Juan Soto. And let's say Lindor and Alonso start to fall back down to earth a little bit. We got to expect Soto will produce. We have to, because that is what Juan Soto does. He does produce. He doesn't slump that long. He doesn't. All right, now let's talk about some of these other guys in the lineup. Mark Vientos really starting to get going. Only 1 for 5 tonight. The 3 strikeouts doesn't really concern me because last year, he had a great year and he struck out 135 times in 111 games. So I'm not too worried about the 3 strikeouts. I'm happy that Mark Vientos is driving the ball. He had a clutch RBI double yesterday. Went 0 for 2. Went 0 for 2 in the final game of the St. Louis series, but he did go 2 for 4 in that third game of the St. Louis series. So Vientos, in my opinion, he'll be fine. I'm not worried about a regression. Like, to expect him to hit, 30 plus home runs, I think you can still expect that. Even though he only has 1 home run of the year, that's another best part because we know that Mark Vientos is going to get going. He's been putting together great at-bats. His average exit velocity is well over 90 miles per hour. Even when he gets out, when he puts that ball in play, it is a hard hit ball. It is a hard hit ball. Even his 1 home run this year, he barely hit that. But the exit velocity and the launch angle shouldn't match up. Like, the launch angle there, I believe it was well over, I'm not sure the exact launch angle, but it was a straight up pop fly. And off the bat, it was over 95 miles per hour. You have to be very strong to hit a pop fly 95 miles per hour. So, and opposite field as well. Just let's hit on Juan Soto because, yes, he's only hitting 233, but he does have a 364 on base percentage. So he's getting on base. He did go 1 for 4 today. He worked a walk that started a rally. He moved a guy over. I get it. He's getting paid $765 million for the next 15 years. So you're not paying him to hit ground balls and just move guys over. But when you're in a slump and you're doing things like this to help win a game, that matters to me. Because let's be real, for 15 years, do we think Juan Soto, even after he breaks out of the slump, is just going to be consistently a dominant MVP-like hitter without ever getting into another slump? Like, it's baseball. It is baseball. Guys go through slumps. Aaron Judge last year started the season on May 1st, he was hitting below 200 last year. And he ended up winning the MVP. I'm not saying Soto's going to win the NL MVP, but it's baseball, players slump. I'm not worried about Juan Soto. Am I disappointed in his overall numbers? Yeah. Like, it would be nice if we got Juan Soto really clicking. But it's also really nice that Juan Soto isn't clicking and we are 18-7 with a 5-game lead in the NL East over the Philadelphia Phillies. And we're coming off a 7-game win streak, 7 straight wins at home, 12-1 at home. The Mets are rolling, and that's without Juan Soto. So imagine what happens when the Mets get Juan Soto rolling. How good will they be? Brett Baty and Luis Acuna. Let's talk about it. Then we'll talk about Torrens and Alvarez. Why originally I kind of wanted Alvarez to DH when he comes back, but now thinking about it now, what would they do if they DH Alvarez? Because let's say, you got a pinch run for Luis Torrens with a Luis Acuna off the bench or Tyrone Taylor off the bench. Then who catches? Then Tyrone Taylor catches, the guy who hasn't caught in professional baseball, but he caught in high school and college. Like, that's who we're going to catch out there. So, they're still going to be able to find Francisco Alvarez playing time when he comes back. Let's say he catches every 2 out of 3 games. It's still a lot of playing time for a catcher. And Francisco Alvarez really hasn't earned a guarantee spot yet. So I'm not just going to say he's got to catch every day. And he probably won't catch every day. Luis Torrens will still get his opportunities. So for anybody worried about Alvarez stealing Torrens' opportunities, it's still going to happen. I think the best part about Carlos Mendoza, especially early on this year, we saw he's going to ride the hot hand. He benched Brandon Nimmo the other night. He didn't pinch hit Brandon Nimmo for Luis Torrens the other night. He is going to ride the hot hand. So if Francisco Alvarez comes up and he's scorching hot, Alvarez will play. If Alvarez comes back up on Friday and he struggles, Torrens will play the chunk of the time. Eventually, Alvarez will get his opportunities because we've seen it almost everybody on this team has been getting a ton of at-bats. A ton of at-bats. Like Brett Baty and Luis Acuna. Acuna has had 59 plate appearances this year. And Brett Baty has also had now 58 plate appearances this year. So he's figuring out a way for these guys to split time. Brett Baty had a clutch home run today. Luis Acuna had a nice base knock up the middle. But yeah, I mean, Brett Baty scorched that ball. We talked about it before. Zach Wheeler has been great against lefties all year. And dating back to last year, Zach Wheeler has been really good against lefties, even though he's a right-hander. And he's probably one of the best, if not the best pitcher in baseball, in my opinion. And for Brett Baty to do that against Zach Wheeler, that was huge. It was a statement because Zach Wheeler was, he was spot on up until he faced Brett Baty. So that was a very clutch home run by Brett Baty. And I think it shows you how good Brett Baty could be. Because in the minor leagues, he has nothing more to prove. So when Jeff McNeil does come back, there's no way you can send Brett Baty down. At this point in Brett Baty's career, we have to find out if he can be a legit major leaguer. I think we have to lower the expectations, but we can also keep those expectations in our back pocket and have hope that he can live up to the hype that we had for him in 2023 and in 2022 when he first came up. I think we can still have that in our back pocket, that hope. But we have to lower our expectations and say to ourselves, hey, if Brett Baty if he can be what he has been over his past few games, I mean, let's go over the game log. He went 1 for 2 today. On Monday night, he did go 0 for 2. Did go 0 for 3 against St. Louis on the 20th. Did go 0 for 1 against St. Louis on the 19th. But in those first 2 games of the series against St. Louis, he went 2 for 3 in game 1 and 1 for 3 in game 2. And then against the Athletics, in the final 2 games of that series, he had 2 base hits across those 2 games. One was a triple. So Brett Baty is actually starting to heat up since we've played the A's. So over the past, I would say, week and a half, we've seen Brett Baty produce. And Luis Acuna, we've really seen him produce since the first week of the season. Luis Acuna has been producing. Like he holds a 283 batting average right now, which is sneakily the 3rd best batting average on the team. His 356 on base percentage is top 4 on the team, only after Francisco Lindor and Juan Soto, who are tied for 2nd. So Acuna has actually been one of the best, most consistent parts of this lineup this year. So good on his part. And like I said, his defense is unbeatable at second base. He's the best defensive second baseman on this team, even when McNeil returns. I would rather have McNeil play center when he comes back instead of Acuna. I wouldn't mind Acuna in center field, but I don't want to take his glove out of second base. And I think we can get away with McNeil in center field, and then in a late game situation, if we're up or if it's close and, we just want to win the game with defense, and you put a guy like Tyrone Taylor out there. I really do want to find a way to keep Acuna's glove at second base. And then you keep Brett Baty up. You can get guys like Mark Vientos a day off. You can get guys like Lindor a day off. Switch Acuna to short. Put Baty at second. Baty can experiment in the outfield as well. We've seen him play left field last year. We know McNeil can play all over the ball, all over the field. Really, except shortstop is the only position that shortstop and catcher are really the only positions I wouldn't want McNeil playing. Everywhere else, open-minded. So they will have a lot of flexibility with McNeil, with Acuna, with Brett Baty. They could do a lot of different things. They can get Brandon Nimmo a day off, shift Baty to left field, put Acuna in center or McNeil in center, and then have one of the other two play second base. They have a lot of options. I think it's no doubt about it. Ozokar is going to be the one to go down, and obviously Hayden Senger once Francisco Alvarez returns. But yeah, big homestand for the Mets. You got to love it. 7 straight wins. Now 12-1 at home. And, I think we got to start talking about the Mets as the favorites in this division. I don't think they ran away with the division. Some people are claiming this is the Mets division to lose now. I don't think it's their division to lose, but I do think we should kind of give them a little bit more credit than we did in the beginning of the year, where we thought maybe this team is just a wild card team. The Phillies and the Braves are just light years ahead of the Mets still. No, they're not. The Mets proved that they could actually be better than the Phillies. I'm not going to sit here today on only April 24th when we still have over 100 games left and say that the Mets are better than the Phillies. The Mets are won the NL East. I'm not going to say that. But what I will say is the Mets have boosted my confidence in thinking that they can actually come away with this division. That not only can they come away with this division, but they can be one of the best teams in baseball. Because right now they do have the best record in baseball. Eventually, everything is going to come back down to earth. It's baseball. They're going to go through a slump. But they already did kind of go through a slump. I mean, they've been on a 7-game winning streak now and a 6-game winning streak. If they can put together just flashes of win streaks together all year long and they can win a ton of series, the Mets can be a 95 to 100 win ball club. I mean, the Mets won 101 games in 2022. And are you going to tell me that in 2022, the 2022 team was better than their 2025 team? I don't think anybody's saying that. Nobody's thinking it. So the Mets can win 100 games. The Mets can win 95 plus games. The Mets can win this division. But they got to keep it up. They got to keep it up. I don't expect them to win 115 games like they're on pace for right now, but the Mets can win this division. The Mets can prove a lot of people wrong. The Mets can be one of the best teams in baseball, and that's why I titled this podcast today, The 2025 Mets Are Legit. They're legit. All right, let's talk about these Yankees. The New York Yankees coming together, avoiding a sweep against the Guardians. They lost their last 2 to the Guardians, but Yankees are sneakily 7-3 in their last 10 games. Sneakily 7-3. And the pitching has been a concern. It has been a very major concern for a lot of people, and as they should be. But Will Warren, like I said yesterday, he's only had 1 bad start this year. Will Warren has legit only had 1 bad start. Max Fried is Max Fried. We all know he's one of the most reliable pitchers in all of baseball. And Carlos Rodon hasn't looked terrible. Like, he really hasn't. Going into today, he did have a 4.35 ERA, but he lowered that ERA to a 3.5 because that's what happens early on in the year when you go 7 innings and you don't allow a single earned run and you strike out 8 and you only walk 2. But this is back-to-back good starts against Tampa Bay. In his last start, he went 6 innings, only allowed 2 hits, only allowed 4 walks is pretty high, but 9 Ks in 6 innings, only 2 hits, no runs allowed. Against San Francisco, he did allow 4 earned runs. He had three bad starts in a row, but even in those bad starts against Arizona, he went 6 innings, only allowed 3 hits. 4 earned runs, yeah, but only 3 hits. 6 innings against Detroit, he let up 5 earned runs, but only 4 hits across 6 innings. And then against San Francisco, 5.2 innings, let up 2 home runs, which sucks. And that's why he did let up 4 earned runs, but only 3 hits. Carlos Rodon has yet to allow more than 4 hits in a single start this year. So I think Carlos Rodon has had a little bit of bad luck. But I think this is the year where Rodon finally finds it with the Yankees. I think this is the year. So in my opinion, the Yankees right there have 3 good starters. And Will Warren and Carlos Rodon, and obviously Max Fried, who's one of the best pitchers in baseball. They're going to get Louis Heel back. And they're going, I mean, once they get Louis Heel back, they should be okay. But Clark Schmidt, I'm not really that bought in on Clark Schmidt. I'm really not. He had a good year last year, but it was only 16 starts. 16 starts. Did pitch very well. You got to hand it to him. But, I mean, this past out in 4 innings against the Guardians on Monday, let up 7 hits, 5 earned runs, 7 strikeouts, which is nice, but sometimes that happens when you let up a lot of hits. So now, through his 2 games, he's allowed a total of 8 earned runs up across 9.2 innings. Clark Schmidt can come out here and completely change my mind the next time he pitches. But as of now, I'm not going to say that I fully trust Clark Schmidt. Well, the best part about it is he's a back end of the rotation guy, and that's what you're expecting him to be. If he can be 2022 Clark Schmidt or 2024 Clark Schmidt, that'll be great. But in 2023, he pitched 32 starts. He had a 4.64 ERA. The Yankees cannot have that. Honestly, for the Yankees to get production, I would say, out of Clark Schmidt, he just needs to have a low 4 ERA because that's how good this lineup can be. Like, this lineup can score, like, because the low 4 ERA is only 5 innings with 3 earned runs allowed. That's a low 4 ERA right there. If he can do that and he can keep the Yankees in a position to win a game like they did today, 5-1 victory, they're going to score a lot of runs. Like, let's be real. The Yankees going into today were second in runs with 5.5 per game. They're top 10 in hits with 8.5 hits per game. Top 5 in batting average with a 256 team batting average. A lot to do with Paul Goldschmidt and Aaron Judge, obviously. Third in on-base percentage. They're getting on base a ton. Slugging percentage are number 1. OPS are top 2. Home runs, they have the most home runs in baseball right now with 41. Like, they're going to be good. The Yankees are going to be a good lineup. I love Ben Rice. I do wish the Yankees got him some reps at third base because it's going to actually be a problem, and it's not going to be a fun problem to have when Giancarlo Stanton comes back, because I do expect Ben Rice to be legit. I do think Ben Rice is legit. So when Stanton comes back, in my mind, I think Boone is just going to give Stanton those ABs. But then what do you do with Ben Rice? Some people are claiming that they want him to catch. But do you really want to take Austin Wells' potential out of the lineup? Do you want to? I know he's only hitting 181 this year, but it's still April 24th or 23rd. So, if anything, I would get Ben Rice some reps at third base because you can take a guy like Oswald Peraza or Oswaldo Cabrera out of the lineup and not be worried. Also, they could DH Trent Grisham a little bit more early on in the year. They could do a lot of things if they get Ben Rice, some reps at third base. And it's early enough in the year where they can get away with it. So that's the best part about it. And, I know some people are like, oh, well, he can't play third base. How? Like, Jazz never played third base last year. Never played third base before last year. And he played great there. Ben Rice was a catcher. Ben Rice is a first baseman. So, 1, he knows what the corner infield requires. 2, if he has a good enough arm to catch, he definitely has a good enough arm to play third. He definitely has good enough reaction time to play third. And he's a professional baseball player. He can play third base. I don't think it would be that hard for him to learn. Like, let's be real, guys. We got to use our brains. Have a little common sense sometimes. So, Ben Rice's bat is too good to take out of this lineup. So, they got to figure out a way to get him every day at bats, even when a guy like Stanton returns. Paul Goldschmidt, I'm eating my words right now. I did not have this on my bingo card. Paul Goldschmidt is hitting 383 after today. I did not have that on my bingo card. He had one of the worst years of his career last year. And so far, his start with the Yankees has been everything you can ask for and more. Hitting 383 is very hard to do, even at this point in the year. So good for him. His OPS is well over 900. Only 1 home run on the year, but he's just a extra base hit machine so far. So good for him. Aaron Judge hitting 415. That's just unfair. Like, that is just unfreaking fair. His on-base percentage right now, which is even scarier, is a 513. Imagine, I know we're only a month into the season, but even at any point over a stretch of a month, and you're getting on base 51% of the time in a month, you know how hard that is? Some guys can't even get, like we see Anthony Volpe right now, his on-base percentage is a 295. So he steps up to the plate, and he's only got a 29% chance of getting on base. Aaron Judge has a 51% chance of getting on base right now. That is insane. Like, that's jaw-dropping numbers. Those are video game numbers. Those are road to the show beginner numbers. He's got an OPS of a 1.247. And the best part about Aaron Judge is, like, anything is possible with this guy at this point in his career. Anything. Like, last year, his numbers were insane. He had 322 with a 1.159 OPS. He's had 3 straight years with over 1,000 OPS. 3 straight years. Looking to make it 4 this year. Cody Bellinger, he needs to get going. Hitting 177, that ain't going to cut it. Him and Jazz Chisholm, they need to get going. And I think that's a bad sign, but also a good sign. Bellinger, I don't have as much trust in him as I do in Jazz Chisholm to get things turned around, because Jazz, I think, has that ability to turn it around. Cody Bellinger, I don't think he's going to be hitting 177 all year, but even based off last year numbers, last year with the Cubs, and he only hit 266 with a 751 OPS. Like that wouldn't be something the Yankees want. That wouldn't be something that would be considered a plus year from Cody Bellinger. It wouldn't. So, and really in his last 4 years, outside of this year, obviously, in his last 4 years, he's only had over an 800 OPS once. Just once since 2020. So Bellinger hasn't really been, as good as some people have thought. He had one good year in his last 4 years. He had an okay year last year. I wouldn't consider it good. He only had 18 home runs. Only had 78 RBIs is nice. Only 18 home runs from a guy like him, not going to cut it. Now, I'm not expecting him to hit, have 115 RBIs and hit 47 home runs like he did in 2019, but, 25 plus would be nice. 25 plus would be nice. Anthony Volpe's been getting a lot of hate. I get it. I've said it. Anthony Volpe is just not a good offensive player. He's just not. Like, his approach changes a lot. One of my buddies, Jake, he points it out a lot. Like, Anthony Volpe doesn't really know who he is. Like, his rookie year, he was a slugging shortstop. He hit 20-plus home runs. Followed that up, got on base barely any more than he did in his rookie year. He still had an on-base percentage below 300. And he hit a lot less home runs. Brought his batting average up, but a lot less home runs. This year, he started the first week off scorching hot. Nothing really outside of that, though. Nothing. On-base percentage well below 300 again. So, it's alarming. It is alarming. But at the same time, this Yankee team has made the playoffs twice with Anthony Volpe sucking offensively. So I don't think Anthony Volpe is the end-all be-all for the Yankees. He can struggle and the Yankees can still win. Why? Because I've seen it the last 2 years. He's struggled, he's sucked, and the Yankees still win. So, and like I said, at the beginning of the year, I said he hits 240, he hits 250. He gets on base more than 33% of the time. That's going to be a plus, probably a top 15 shortstop in MLB because of how good his glove is over there. So I wouldn't be too worried about Anthony Volpe. Like, if he sucks, he sucks. Great. He sucked the last 2 years and the Yankees have still won. He's not going to end the Yankees year because he sucks. Nobody's expecting Anthony Volpe to be the guy in the lineup. You're expecting Jazz. You're expecting Paul Goldschmidt. You're expecting Cody Bellinger. You're expecting even more Jason Dominguez and Austin Wells. And then obviously Aaron Judge, but like on your expectation list, it would obviously go Aaron Judge. Then I would say Cody Bellinger, then Paul Goldschmidt. So there's 3. I would go Jazz Chisholm 4. I would go Austin Wells 5. I would go Ben Rice 6, at least for me. You might want to bump him up in that order now based off the start he's having. You go probably Jason Dominguez 7. So really, Anthony Volpe is the 8th guy, I would say, the 8th best hitter in this lineup. Like, how many teams' 8th best hitters have over a 700 OPS like he does right now? You know what I mean? Like, it's not like he's doing terrible. He's in a slump. But at the end of the day, even if he does suck this year offensively, it's not like he was this all-world offensive star last year and the year before, and the Yankees still made the playoffs. So, I'm not worried. That's it. Jay Beers, you're not the only one here, but thank you for commenting and saying let's go Mets too. Shout out to you. We got how many we got watching? 150? 150 across 3 platforms. Not bad. I'll take it. I'm not even doing it for views. I'm doing it for fun, to rant, to get things off my chest. But if you do want to check out more of my stuff, if you're one of the 150 people watching, whether on Facebook, X, or YouTube, or if you're listening back on Spotify, wherever you're listening or watching, if you want to check out more of my stuff, you can go to fansided.com/author/Jay Nolan. Check out my articles. I get paid for those based off how many times it gets clicked. So if you do want to click on it, you'd make me a couple bucks. Thank you. These I don't get paid for. They're just for fun. Just for fun. So maybe you head over to the article site on fansided.com/author/Jane Olin, and you click that article and help me get some money. Help me get some money. And then maybe if I get enough money, I can start doing giveaways on this podcast. Who knows? If you want to go to a Mets game, you want to go to a Yankees game, I'll do some giveaways. But you got to click on those articles. All right, that's it. That's it here for me. Basically, to wrap everything up, Yankees pitching better than expected so far. We're better than you might think, I should say. Mets are better than you expected so far, for sure. Yankees definitely better than you think. Yankees and Mets both have an off day tomorrow. The Yankees will be starting a series on Friday, along with the Mets starting a series on Friday. In division play, we got the Blue Jays at the Yankees. Jose Barrios will be taking on Carlos Carrasco in Game 1 Friday night at 7:05. And the Mets got their ace on the bump, Kodai Senga, who has over 18 scoreless innings right now in a row. He's got .79 ERA, 3-1 on the year. He'll be going up against Jake Irvin, who hasn't had a bad start to this year. He's 2-0, but the Mets should still win that game. They're a much better team than the Nationals. We'll see Jeff McNeil back. We'll see Francisco Alvarez back. Let's see if this team can start to take off with their reinforcements coming back. And let's see if Juan Soto can start to break out of his slump. All right. And same thing for the Yankees. Let's see if Jazz Chisholm, let's see if Cody Bellinger can break out of their slumps. A lot of guys slumping that we didn't expect so far. That's it for me. Thank you for watching. Love all you guys. Thank you for watching the New York Double Play podcast.